video number 19. What is trading on margin? Now I mentioned this in the previous video. I didn't realize at the time it was the very next video, so that's perfect. Okay, so trading on margin, when you're buying your lot size, as I mentioned, you're probably going to wonder, okay, why is it only costing me such a small amount to buy such a large amount of currency? Because one would think initially, if they weren't aware of margin trading, that it would cost a lot more than, say, $500 to buy, for example, 100,000 units of US dollars or whatever other base currency you were trading. So trading on margin, this is a very important part to understand. Forex is basically built around trading on margin, unless you're physically buying the currency yourself and holding it in a foreign currency account at your bank. Now, trading on margin is basically borrowing money at a ratio. For example, 400 to 1. Now, the way I trade with my broker FXCM is I trade Forex on a ratio of 400 to 1. So that means for every dollar that I put down on that trade, they put 400 down. Now, it's not always going to be 400 to 1. Certain brokers have certain requirements. Some will only let you do 100 to 1. Some will let you do 200 to 1. Some will only let you do 300 to 1. Some will only let you do less than 100 to 1. For example, I believe FXCM recently changed a few rules where they stipulated, I know one of them was cryptocurrencies were now 25 to 1 maximum. So they weren't as highly leveraged anymore. And there were a few other changes as well. But in the general Forex market, for me anyway, 400 to 1. So for every dollar I put down, they put down 400. And so that gives them the right to charge you a spread. It gives them the right to make a bit of money out of what you're doing, because they are basically giving you the means of making larger amounts of money with smaller amounts of money. So, you know, if you come into the Forex market with $5,000 worth of capital, without trading on margin, you wouldn't be able to just go out there and buy $100,000 worth of US dollar with Japanese yen, would you? But with their margin lending, you are able to do that. So of course they need to get something back for that. So that allows you to buy larger amounts with a smaller amount. Now, while this can magnify your profits, of course, it can also magnify your losses. So you've got to be very careful. And every broker's statement will tell you the same thing, that trading on margin can also magnify your losses. It can magnify your profits, yes, but you've got to remember the flip side of the coin too when you are trading. That even though it might be tempting to go and buy a whole heap and buy a massive lot because it's, you know, tempting, don't. Just be very mindful when you're trading on margin. Now, trading on margin is a fantastic tool. Like I said, it allows you to go out and do a lot more with your money than you could ordinarily do if you went to the bank and bought foreign currency directly. And of course, when you go to buy your lot size, it's going to tell you how much margin you are actually required to use. So if you go out and you buy, say, 5 mini lots, which would be equal to 0.50, which would be 50,000, and it's going to ask you at the bottom, or it's going to tell you more so, how much margin you are required to put down. And so in your, basically in your finance section of your platform, it's going to show under margin, once you place the trade, how much has been allocated. Times that by your ratio, your margin ratio, and that's going to be how much they put in. And it works out to be right. So whatever you're putting in, times that by, say for example, if you're 400 to 1, times it by 400, and you'll see that it works out practically bang on. Now, different pairs will have different margin requirements for the same lot size. Obviously, because different currency pairs, different exchange rates to the currency that you are trading with, because you've got to remember that too. If you're trading with Australian dollars like I am, and you're trading US dollar against the Japanese yen, there's a few different conversions going on there. So you've got to factor all that in. So not all lot sizes are going to be the same price. Say one lot of USD against the Swiss franc is a lot more expensive for me than one lot of Australian dollars against the US dollar. There's a lot of differences, so keep that in mind. They're not all going to be exactly the same. And that's basically what trading on margin is. Again, you've got to just be very careful. It allows you to get a decent amount of leverage, which is a fantastic tool to use, but don't be crazy with it. It can be very tempting when you're placing a trade, and I know this from experience when I first started early in the piece. it can be very tempting when you're setting up your coordinates, your take profit, your stop loss, your lot size, and you see, okay, I stand to make, say $200 if this trade goes in my favor. It can be very, very tempting to bump that lot size up a few more times over and go, oh my God, I could make $2,000 now if this trade hits. Or, you know, you could double that again. Oh my God, I can make $4,000 if this trade, and you can keep going and going. But what if that trade goes wrong and it goes against you? How much will you lose? Because not every single trade you make is going to go the way you want it to. That's just a fact of Forex. You will never get every single trade right 100% of the time. So be careful when you're doing that. Like I've said before, start with a demo account with the amount that you are going to be trading when you start your live account, and have a play with the whole idea of margin trading and get a feel for it, because it's important that you get a feel for it before you start putting your own money in and start leveraging with your broker's money. Okay, that's margin trading 101. And on to the next video where we're going to be talking about buy versus sell. What is the difference if you don't already know that?